When people come into our dealership, many times they're not sure whether or not they want to lease or buy. In fact, sometimes they're very sure that all they want to do is buy. They don't have any intention of leasing. And some of that comes from a bad experience they may have had, lack of knowledge of what a lease is, how it works, and or just they've done it a certain way and that's how they want to do it. Well, the factory would like you to lease. It's no secret, the more cars you buy, the happier they are. And one of the easiest ways to have people buy cars more often is allow them an out after 3 years in their vehicle. Now, the average loan time right now is about 66 months. That's 5.5 years. Yet people are still trading in their car on the average of 3 years. So when you look at it that way, at the end of 3 years, if you've taken a loan on your car, you're going to owe money on it. There's a chance that you can be in a negative equity position and buying a new car is more difficult or more expensive. If you lease a car, you're guaranteed at the end of that term of that lease, whether it be 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, you can walk away from that car and get into a new vehicle. And you have all the same ability to build equity in a lease as you do on a buy. The difference is if you don't build equity in your 3-year lease, you're not responsible for it. So if you are at the end and you're going to buy out that lease and it's say $15,000 and the car's worth $10,000, you don't owe any balance on it. That is the risk that the bank took. They came up with a residual value for the car. At the same time, if that car is worth more than what it is, you have equity that you can apply to the new vehicle. There's no difference when people go, well, I want to own my car. You don't own your car on a conventional loan until you've made the last payment and they send you the pink slip. So you don't own it for the 60 months, 72 months that you took the loan out. Not until that final payment do you own the car. So you have no ownership differences. Most of the time when someone's had a bad experience with a lease, it's because they've just had a bad lease, whether they went with a lending company that had fees at the end, or they did a lease for $12,000 knowing that they drive 15,000 miles a year. So what I suggest anyone does before they lease, and it's very simple and we go over it with you, is map out about what you drive. If you drive 15,000 miles a year, let's do a 15,000 mile a year lease. At the end of the lease, there's lenders that have what's called a disposition fee. In other words, they charge you to take the car back, $400 or $500. Honda doesn't have that. In fact, they're one of the best leasing companies. They include in their lease gap insurance, which means if your car, let's say, was totaled and you owe $20,000 and your insurance is only giving you $15,000, that gap insurance covers the difference. At the same time, you have included in it a certain amount of wear and tear that's acceptable with American Honda Finance that is very liberal. They allow up to $1,500 worth of damage, $500 for any one particular spot. They want you to come back and get a new car. They don't make it hard, they make it very easy. So before you say no out of hand to a lease, take some time to compare the two together and ask the questions that concern you, especially when it comes to the area of mileage. What is it you do at the end of a lease? What happens? How does that lease end? How do you start a new one? If you're in a lease, majority of Honda's advertising to you is going to be pulling you ahead into a new lease. They may waive the first payment on the new car, your last payment on the last car. So there's many benefits to doing a lease.